What's up guys, Suris here. Today I'm going to be tackling a topic that I wanted to tackle last week, but of course I had to do something entirely different. Anywho, I'm going to be talking about polyamory today. Essentially, I'm going to be going over what it is, and some frequently asked questions, and how my particular polycule functions. This is to hopefully make the concept a little more understandable for those who might not quite be aware of how things work. Anyways, let's go ahead and roll that intro. So while I've met plenty of polyamorous people who understand some of the basic concepts of polyamory, I've also met several people that don't seem to understand how that kind of relationship can function. So I guess the first thing we would need to do is define polyamory. Polyamory is essentially a consensual relationship between multiple partners. These relationships may or may not be sexual, but they are typically romantic. Polyamorous relationship structures are called polycules. A polycule can take many different shapes, and there is a point of note that we need to get into right now. Not everybody in a given polycule are dating each other. For instance, your polycule might look like this. This is what's called a V. In a V-style relationship, person X is dating person Y and Z, but persons Y and Z are not dating each other. If they are dating each other, this is what we would call a triad, and it would look like this. Note that not all polyamorous setups actually have names, it's just some of the more common ones have found colloquial names in the community. Now, like I said before, in a V-style polycule and other polycules of its ilk, some of the people in the relationship might not necessarily be dating each other. These people who are not dating each other but are still part of the relationship at large are called metamors. So if we go back to the V relationship, person X is dating person Y and Z, but person Y and Z are metamors to each other. They share a partner, but they are not necessarily dating each other. There's also another term in the poly community that's generally looked down on, and this is called a unicorn. So for instance, most people who want to give polyamory a try usually try just bringing in one extra person in the relationship. You might have a heterosexual couple who want to bring in a unicorn, as it were, which is a bisexual woman who is dating both people who were presently in the relationship before. While this essentially creates a V formation, it is considered rare to find somebody who's willing to agree to something like this, because usually that V is what's called a closed V, where the relationship contains 3 people, and it is not open for bringing in anyone else into the relationship. Because these relationships so rarely work out, or so rarely even happen in the first place, the women who are sought out for these types of relationships are generally called unicorns. Subsequently, anyone looking for someone like this for their relationship is called a unicorn hunter. This is considered a derogatory thing in the polyamorous community because unicorn hunters generally are inexperienced at poly, or are not actually polyamorous but instead looking for someone to have sex with due to their inexperience with polyamory in general. That's not saying that these relationship structures don't work, sometimes they do, but it is rare, and it is the relationship structure that is most usually sought out by the naive. Okay, now here's the part where I actually get my partners involved to help explain how our relationship works, so you have a functional example of a polyamorous relationship to go off of.
Hi, my name is Raziel. I am dating Suris and Emmett. Jeremy is my metamor. Polyship to me, it's like your own safety net that helps you out with the other people that you need help with. So if Suris and I have a conflict, then Jeremy helps out, or Emmett helps out. It's just like a nice little ball of happiness.
Hey there, my name's Emmett, and I am dating Raziel, Suris, and Jeremy. I don't have any minimals at the moment because I'm a dating hoe apparently, and I need to date everyone in the polycule. Go figure. Now, what a poly relationship means to me is just a sort of big, sort of clustery, working together, close-knit community thing of people who love each other and sort of work together and are gay and lovey and all the cheese. So much cheese.
Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm engaged to Emmett, and Raz and Suris are my metamors. What polyamory means to me is basically the freedom to love who I love, with all parties involved knowing and accepting all the others. When I was in high school, I had feelings for a number of people, but I wasn't aware polyamory was a thing. I was raised to believe that you could only love one person, and if you fell for another, you never truly loved the first, which was an extremely toxic mindset to be in, considering I did have feelings for more than one person, which caused a lot of trouble. I led myself to believe I didn't actually love them because you can only love one person at a time. Polyamory proves otherwise. Polyamory to me means that my feelings for others are not invalid, but I'm a socially awkward nerd and can't do the talk thing, so I only have one partner in the polycule at the moment.
And then of course there's me, who you already know, at least I hope so if you're watching this channel. I am dating Raz and Emmett, Jeremy is my metamor, and for me, polyamory is just a group of people who love each other. There are some pragmatic applications to it, like conflict resolution, like Raziel and Emmett both mentioned, which I think is probably one of the best parts of being in a polyamorous relationship. You always have that extra person's perspective whenever a conflict comes up, and if you've been in a relationship for long enough, conflicts do come up. It's unavoidable. Anywho, now that we've gone into some examples, let's go ahead and get right into some commonly asked questions. One of the first questions I usually get asked is polyamory cheating? Or I am just blatantly told that polyamory is in fact cheating. Let me make this abundantly clear. In a polyamorous relationship, everyone knows what's going on. Therefore, it's not cheating. Cheating involves breaking some of the rules, and you are the only people who get to decide what the rules are in your relationship. There is no arbitrary standard for what a relationship should be. You are the arbiter of that. That said, cheating can happen in a polyamorous relationship. So for instance, if I were to go and date somebody else right now, or have sex with them without any of my partners knowing, that would be cheating, not unlike it would be in any other relationship. If my partners did not consent or agree to me taking that action would be cheating. One of the next questions I get commonly asked about this is this polygamy or is there a distinction? And yes, there is. Polygamy is a relationship structure where there's one guy dating multiple women. The women cannot date each other and cannot date outside of the relationship. If the man at the top is married to these women instead of just dating them, then it is considered a polygynous relationship. And if it's a woman at the top who is married to multiple men, then that is called a polyandrous relationship. These relationships can function, but please note that much like with the unicorn hunting relationship, this is seen as a little bit more toxic. One of the main things in polyamory is being able to be open with you and your partners, and these styles of relationships don't allow for that. Another commonly asked question is, aren't you splitting up love between multiple people? The short answer to that is no. If you're polyamorous, you have the same amount of love to give to every person in your relationship. Now, you do split up time. A common example here is, imagine you're a parent. If you have multiple children, you don't split up your love between those children. You love all of those children. But you also only have so much time in the day, so you do have to split your time between the children, or spend time with multiple children at once in order to get the most out of your time. But this is not the same thing as splitting up love. You're loving them all just the same. It's the same way it works in a polyamorous relationship. You can love all of your partners just the same. But if I go out on a 2-hour date with Emmett, that's 2 hours that I don't get to spend with Raziel, and vice versa. Another commonly asked question is, are monogamous relationships better than polyamorous ones, or vice versa? The answer to this is pretty simple. Whatever relationship style works best for you, go ahead and go with it. If you find yourself being incredibly jealous of your partner should they be with anyone else, or even the thought of them being with anyone else makes you incredibly jealous, then a monogamous relationship is probably what's best for you. If, however, the thought of seeing your partner with somebody else and happy with them as well as with you makes you happy, then you're experiencing something called compersion. Compersion is just being happy that your partner's happy with somebody else. It is essentially the opposite of jealousy. If compersion comes easily to you, then a monogamous relationship might not be the best one. You might want to go with a polyamorous style relationship. It should also be noted that a monogamous person might find themselves in a polyamorous relationship or vice versa, and this can work, but it's really difficult. For instance, you might have a monogamous person who's doing everything in their power to not get jealous of their other partners, or you might have a polyamorous person who feels constrained. It can be done though. This does, however, lead into the next question, which is, do you feel jealousy in a polyamorous relationship? And yes, jealousy is a perfectly natural emotion, and polyamorous people are no different. Even someone who experiences compersion 99.9% of the time will sometimes still experience jealousy when their partners are doing something that they themselves are not involved in. The best way to handle this, in my experience, is funneling that jealousy into something. For instance, your jealousy might get you angry. If that's the case, one of the best things you can do is try to funnel that anger into a task. Go to the gym, play a video game, something that allows you to work out that stress until you get a chance to talk to your partner about it, as opposed to lashing out at your partner. If you agreed for your partner to have a partner, and you get jealous of your partner's partner, nobody has done anything wrong here. So instead of lashing out, the healthiest thing you can do is try to channel your emotions into something productive. Note that sometimes that's easier said than done. One of the last questions that I usually get is polyamory a new thing? The answer to that is twofold. First off, no. Polyamory polyamory is not a new thing. It's been a thing for as long as humans have been experimenting with relationships. As long as one person in a subset of society was dating multiple people, and some of those people were allowed to date as well, then that was a polyamorous relationship at some point in time. However, as I said, this is a bit of a twofold question, because 1992 is technically when the Oxford Dictionary cites that the proposal of polyamory was first used, so the terminology itself is fairly recent. The term polyfidelity, which polyamory is derived from, was coined in the 1970s. Other terms like metamor and compersion were also coined at later dates. So, no, the actual relationship structures themselves are not anything new, however, the terminology is. So hopefully if you were having any issues trying to understand what polyamory is, maybe this video cleared things up. I also may have also complicated things. I'm not the best at explaining things, but hopefully me and my partners have made this at least somewhat more clear and easier to understand. Anyway, that all said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Insert end of video tagline here.